Oh, my dearest companions, do fasten your seatbelts and brew yourselves a steaming, comforting pot of Earl Grey tea to soothe your nerves, for the tale I am about to unfold is not for the faint of heart. It is one of those chronicles that makes the blood boil in our veins, that compels us to shout at the heavens and weep with rage, yet also with profound emotion. Have you ever felt that you truly know someone, only to discover you are sleeping with the very enemy? Well, that is precisely the calamity that befell our protagonist. But before I lose my thread, my queens of the drama, if you delight in these sagas of romance, treachery, and divine retribution, please do click that subscribe button this instant and leave me a like. It costs you not a farthing and aids me greatly in continuing to bring you these scandalous whispers we all adore. Have you done it? Splendid. Now, let the drama commence. It all began one Friday evening in one of the most exclusive enclaves of London, in the heart of Mayfair, where the air itself smells of old money and expensive rain, and the cobblestones are polished to perfection. William Darcy, a man who seemed to have been hand-carved by the angels themselves, strode towards his motorcar. He was 35, clad in a charcoal-colored bespoke suit from Savile Row that fit his athletic frame like a second skin, wearing the confident smile of a man who believes he has conquered life. William was not merely about wealth, friends. He possessed a heart of gold, but alas, he was blind, blind with affection for the wrong woman. That night was their engagement party. He was poised to celebrate his impending marriage to Victoria, a stunning woman, yes, but with a soul blacker than the Thames at midnight. William whistled a soft tune, toying with the keys to his latest model Rolls-Royce. He was running behind schedule. Victoria had requested he retrieve some crates of vintage champagne she had supposedly left in the boot of the car since the afternoon. "I am coming, my love. I am coming," William murmured, reflecting on his fortune. Poor fool, he did not know his luck was about to shift violently. He reached the vehicle, which gleamed under the gaslight-style street lamps. The London night was brisk and damp. William deactivated the alarm. The chirp echoed in the empty mews. He placed his hand on the boot. Everything seemed ordinary. A standard Friday, a pristine life. But fate, my friends, fate is a capricious mistress and delights in teaching us lessons when we least expect them. He lifted the lid of the boot, and the world ceased to turn. William dropped the keys. The clatter of metal against the wet asphalt was the only sound before a scream died in his throat. His eyes, those piercing blue eyes that usually shone with joy, widened in pure terror. He took a step back, nearly stumbling, clutching his head as if to tear away the vision before him. "My God," he shouted in a voice that was unrecognizable. There, curled in a fetal position inside the boot, trembling like a leaf in a gale, was Daisy, his domestic worker, a young woman of barely 20 years, her light blue uniform creased and soiled. Those yellow rubber gloves she used to scrub the marble floors still on her hands. But Daisy was not alone, and this is what nearly gave our millionaire a coronary. Clinging to her chest, swaddled in old blankets, were three bundles, three babies, triplets, tiny things with faces red from silent weeping, their eyes shut tight, seeking the warmth of the girl who shielded them as if she were a human barricade. Daisy looked up. Her eyes were swollen, red, filled with a blood-curdling panic. She had a split lip and a bruise blooming on her cheekbone. When she saw William, she did not see her savior. She saw her executioner. "Do not kill me, Mr. Darcy. For the love of St. George, do not hurt me," Daisy sobbed, pressing the infants closer to her frail body. Her voice was a thread of despair. "I swear to St. George that I did nothing wrong." William was paralyzed. His mind could not process the tableau. Daisy, his sweet and quiet employee, in his Rolls-Royce boot with three babies? Why was she begging for her life? His heart hammered against his ribs. He wanted to speak, to inquire, but the scene was so grotesque, so out of place in his life of Mayfair luxury, that he remained mute. One of the babies began to cry, a sharp, hungry wail that broke William's trance. "Daisy," he stammered, approaching slowly with hands raised, as if calming a wounded fox. What are you doing there? Whose children are those? Get out of there at once." "No, do not let her see me," Daisy screamed, staring in terror at the mansion's front door. "If she sees me, she will kill us all. The children, too." Her. Who are you talking about? William asked, bewildered, a chill running down his spine. At that precise moment, the mansion's heavy oak door burst open. Golden light flooded the entrance, and a female figure appeared in the doorway. It was Victoria. She wore a blood-red, form-fitting designer gown and jewels that flashed violently. But her face lacked the sweetness William thought he adored. It was contorted with fury. "William!" Victoria shrieked in that shrill, aristocratic tone that sometimes, just sometimes, grated on his nerves. "What are you doing? The guests are—" Victoria stopped dead when she saw the open boot. Her predatory eyes scanned the scene in a second. She saw Daisy, she saw the babies, and for a microsecond, my friends, just for an instant, her fear was naked. But wicked women are swift. Wicked women know how to improvise. Instead of fear, her face transformed into a mask of theatrical indignation. "You damned thief!" Victoria shouted, descending the marble stairs, her stilettos clicking like gunshots on the stone. "I knew I could not trust you, you gutter snipe." William stepped between his fiancée and the car. "Victoria, wait. Daisy is terrified. She says—" "Shh, William," she interrupted him, pushing him with surprising force. "Look at her. She was stealing my nephews. She is a kidnapper. Your nephews." William looked at the babies and then at Victoria. The confusion was absolute. "What nephews? You never told me you had baby nephews in the house." Daisy from the boot shook her head frantically, crying silently, her eyes pleading with William not to believe the lie. "They are distant relatives. They came for a surprise visit, and I left them sleeping in the guest wing," Victoria improvised, playing the distraught aunt. "This starving creature took advantage of our distraction with the party to force them into the car and kidnap them for ransom. She is definitely in league with a gang." "It is not a lie," Daisy shouted, finding a shred of courage. "Mr. Darcy, she is lying. She was going to—" "Shut up!" Victoria lunged at the boot before William could stop her. What happened next, my friends, was so quick and cruel it hurts to recount. Victoria grabbed Daisy by the hair and yanked her out of the boot, not caring that she held the babies. "Help!" Daisy screamed, protecting the children's heads as she fell to the hard, wet asphalt. She scraped her knees, hurt her elbow, but did not let go of the little ones. William finally reacted. Gentlemanly honor and British justice triumphed over confusion. "Enough!" he roared, grabbing Victoria by the waist and pulling her away abruptly. "You are mad! There are babies there! Do not touch her!" The silence that followed was heavy. Only the desperate cries of the three babies could be heard, now wailing at the top of their lungs, sensing their protector's fear. Daisy, lying on the ground, her blue uniform stained with grease and her yellow gloves ridiculously shiny in the streetlight, looked at William. "Sir," she whispered, her voice breaking, "look at the blanket. Look at the yellow baby blanket." William frowned. He was going to bend down. He was going to look. He was going to discover the truth that would change his life. But then sirens. Blue and red lights flooded the street. The shrill sound of the police was approaching at full speed. Victoria smiled, a crooked, triumphant, evil smile. "They are here," she said, fixing her hair. "Now you will see what happens to maids who think they are clever." William felt a knot in his stomach. He looked at Daisy, defenseless on the cobblestones. He looked at Victoria, cold as ice, and knew deep down that injustice was going to dine at his table that night. The patrol cars screeched to a halt, making even the mansion windows tremble. There were 2 police cars, and 4 officers got out, guns drawn, as if they were about to face the most dangerous gang in London, not a young girl shivering with cold and fear, holding 3 babies. "Hands up, back from the vehicle," shouted one of the officers, a burly man with a mustache and a stern face. Victoria changed in an instant. From fury, she turned to hysterical sobbing. What an actress the West End missed out on. She ran toward the police with open arms, putting on a show worthy of a BAFTA. "Officers, thank St. George you arrived," she sobbed falsely, pointing an accusing finger at Daisy, her manicured nails perfectly polished. "That woman, that savage, tried to kidnap my children. We found her hiding in the boot, ready to flee." William tried to intervene. He stepped between them, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. Officer, wait a moment. I am William Darcy. This is my residence. There is a terrible misunderstanding here. Misunderstanding? Victoria interrupted, turning to him, her eyes brimming with fake tears. William, please. She almost took the children. If I hadn't come down to get you, they'd be far away by now. Do not defend her. The policeman looked at William, then at the luxury Rolls-Royce, the mansion, and finally at Daisy on the ground. As is often the case in this unjust world, appearances dictated the verdict before any trial. He saw money on one side and poverty on the other, and we all know which side the scales usually tip. Now then, miss, release the children, the officer ordered, approaching Daisy in an overbearing manner. No, Daisy shouted, backing away on the asphalt. Do not give them to her. She will hurt them. Mr. Darcy, tell them to check the blanket. William was stunned. Victoria's accusation was serious, but Daisy's instinct to protect those children was so genuine that it made his chest ache. Officer, let me speak to her first, William requested in a firm businessman's voice. She is my trusted employee. She has been in this house for 2 years. She has never taken a single penny. This makes no sense. Criminals always have a first time, darling, Victoria spat, approaching Daisy. Give me those children, you dirty woman. Victoria tried to snatch one of the babies from her. Daisy, in a reflexive act of a lioness mother, slapped Victoria's hand away. Smack. The sound was dry. Victoria stood still for a second, looking at her hand, and then let out a scream as if her arm had been ripped off. She assaulted me! Officers, did you see that? She hit me, Victoria screamed. That was enough for the police. 2 agents lunged at Daisy. That is enough, one of them growled, grabbing Daisy's arm roughly. You are under arrest for attempted kidnapping and assault. No, my children! Daisy's scream tore through the night. It was a scream of pure pain, of maternal anguish that made William's skin crawl. The police snatched the babies from her arms. The creatures wept inconsolably, stretching their little hands toward Daisy as if they knew that she was their only safe haven. Victoria, with a triumphant smile that she disguised under a grimace of concern, received the babies, but she carried them badly with disgust, keeping them away from her dress so that they would not get it dirty. William noticed that, a small detail, but lethal. A loving aunt would have hugged and kissed them. Victoria appeared to be holding rubbish bags. Meanwhile, Daisy was being handcuffed, the cold metal tightening around her thin wrists, those wrists that worked from sunrise to sunset, cleaning up the dirt of the rich. Mr. Darcy, Daisy shouted as they forcibly lifted her up. Please do not let her take them. There is a letter in the blanket. A letter from your brother. William froze. The world seemed to stop again. What did you say? He asked, taking a step toward her, ignoring the policeman blocking his way. My brother Robert? Robert had died a year ago in a mysterious accident. He was William's open wound. Yes, Daisy wept, her face streaked with tears and snot, the very image of despair. He gave them to me. They are his children, sir. They are his real nephews. She is lying, Victoria shouted louder to drown out the girl's voice. She is making up crazy stories to save herself. Officer, take her away now. She is either drugged or mad. The officer pushed Daisy toward the patrol car. She resisted, digging her heels into the ground, turning her head toward William. The letter, sir! Find the letter! Daisy pleaded before they shoved her into the police car and slammed the door. Dry. William stood in the middle of the street. He saw Daisy through the patrol car window, shouting things he could no longer hear. He saw her handcuffed hands banging against the glass, and he saw her eyes, those deep, honest, dark eyes, piercing him with a truth he was afraid to accept. The patrol car sped off. Daisy was taken away to Pentonville prison like a criminal, when all she had done was love and protect. Victoria approached William, the 3 babies crying uncomfortably in her arms. Oh, my love, what a fright, she said, changing her tone to a sweet one, brushing her shoulder against William's arm. Thank goodness, I realized in time. Imagine the scandal if that creature had taken them away. Let us go inside. I need to call the agency to have these children taken to a safe place. I mean, with their parents. William broke free from her touch. He felt disgusted. He didn't know why, but he felt disgusted. He looked at the babies. They were beautiful and they had something special. One of them had a small mole on his chin, just like Robert, just like his dead brother. William's heart gave a painful lurch. "You said they were your nephews," William said in a deep voice without looking at her. "And they are, my love, distant." "I already told you," Victoria replied nervously, adjusting her shawl. "But oh well, it is over now. Let us go in. It is bon, and the guests are waiting for the toast." "You go in," said William curtly. "I need to get the car checked. Let us see if anything else is missing." "The car?" Victoria tensed up. "But love, let the service staff do it tomorrow. Come and have a drink with me." "I said you go in, Victoria." William looked at her. It was a hard look, the look of the owner of the Darcy empire, not that of the enamored boyfriend. Victoria swallowed, nodded, and turned around, taking the babies inside the mansion, grumbling under her breath. William was left alone in the street. The silence returned, but it was no longer a silence of peace. It was a silence heavy with secrets. He turned towards the open boot of his Rolls-Royce. There in the background where Daisy had been huddled up, he saw something. It shone under the dim light from the boot. It wasn't a jewel, it wasn't money. It was a small, old, worn yellow blanket that had gotten stuck in a corner, and peeking out from between the folds of the fabric was the edge of a wrinkled and stained white envelope, with handwriting that William would recognize even at the end of the world. His breath caught in his throat, and his hands began to tremble. He approached slowly, like someone approaching a bomb about to explode. He stretched out his hand and took the envelope. On the front, written in a quick, nervous stroke, it said, "For my brother William, if you read this, it means I am dead." William felt his legs giving way. He fell to his knees on the wet asphalt with the letter in his hand, while in the mansion, the party music began to play, celebrating a lie while the truth burned his hands outside. Daisy hadn't lied, and if Daisy was telling the truth, then Victoria was a monster, and he was going to marry her. Oh, my dear friends, have your handkerchiefs ready, because what is coming next will break our hearts into 1,000 pieces, but it will also ignite that flame of hope that we all carry within us. We left our William on his knees, devastated in the middle of the lonely street, with that letter in his hand that weighed more than a slab of cement. Can you imagine the pain of discovering that the woman you sleep with, the one who swears eternal love to you, is the devil himself disguised in silk? William was trembling. His large, strong hands, used to signing million-pound contracts without hesitation, could now not hold that crumpled piece of paper without shaking. He opened the envelope. The paper was a little damp, perhaps from Daisy's sweat, perhaps from her tears. When he unfolded it, he recognized the letter instantly. That crooked R, that fast and nervous way of writing. It was Robert, his brother, his blood. He held the sheet up to the gaslight and began to read. "And my queens," what that letter said was not a message, it was a death sentence for Victoria's lies. "William, my brother, if you are reading this, it is because I am no longer in this world. And if I am no longer here, I am afraid of what might happen to my children." Yes, you read that right. I have 3 children, 3 little angels who were born from the purest and most secret love I ever had. I didn't tell you before because Victoria threatened me. She discovered my relationship with a humble woman, the mother of my children, and swore to destroy us if I claimed my share of the inheritance ahead of time. William, be careful of Victoria. She is not who you think she is. She caused the accident at the factory last month. She is obsessed with the Darcy family money. If anything happens to me, please look for my children. They have my blood. They have our eyes. Do not let her get near them. She hates anything that could take a penny from her. I trust you. You are the only fair man I know. Your brother who loves you, Robert. William felt the air escaping from his lungs. A silent scream caught in his throat. Tears welled up in his hot, painful eyes. Robert had not died in a simple car accident as everyone believed. It had been provoked. And those babies, those 3 little bundles that Victoria looked at with such disgust, were his nephews. Blood of his blood. "Damn it," roared William, pounding his fist on the asphalt. He scraped his knuckles. He bled, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the pain in his soul. He got up as best he could, staggering like a drunkard in pain. He looked towards the mansion. The music kept playing, laughter, glasses clinking. And inside, his brother's murderer was playing at being the concerned aunt with her own victim's children. The rage that William felt at that moment, friends, was so great that he had to take 10 deep breaths to keep from going in there and strangling her with his own hands in front of everyone. But William was intelligent. He knew that if he came in shouting, Victoria would invent another lie. She would say that the letter was fake, that Daisy wrote it. No, he had to be more cunning. He had to play the enemy's game to destroy her from within. He angrily wiped away his tears. He put the letter in the inside pocket of his jacket close to his heart. He straightened his tie, ran his hand through his hair, and put on a mask of coldness. He entered the house. The heat of the party hit him. The smell of expensive perfumes made him nauseous. "William," Victoria's voice sounded from the main hall. She was surrounded by her friends, those society ladies who only know how to criticize if the canapé is cold. "You finally come in. We were extremely worried. Everything is fine with the car?" William looked at her. He saw her smiling radiantly with a glass of champagne in one hand. The babies were no longer with her. "Everything is sorted," William lied, his voice hoarse. "I closed the boot." "Where are the children?" "Oh, those little creatures." Victoria sighed, rolling her eyes as if she were talking about a plague of insects. "They cried so much, the poor things. That crazy maid must have hit them or something. I told Mrs. Higgins, the cook, to take them to the kitchen and give them some milk while we wait for the people from the orphanage. I mean social services." "Social services?" William asked through gritted teeth. "You said they were your nephews. Why do they not stay here tonight? We have plenty of room." Victoria tensed. Her smile wavered for a fraction. She moved closer to him and ran her hand down his suit lapel with that fake sweetness that now filled William with revulsion. "Honey, understand. They are complicated children. They come from a difficult background. Besides, tonight is our night. I do not want crying babies ruining our engagement. I already called a friend who works at an institution. She will come for them discreetly through the service entrance. It is for the best." For them, the best thing for them is to be away from you, witch, William thought. But aloud he said, "Fine, but I want to see them before they leave, to make sure they are okay." "Why?" Victoria let out a nervous giggle. "Leave them alone, love. Let us make a toast. Attention, everyone," she called, turning to face the guests and raising her glass. "My fiancé and I would like to make a toast." While Victoria commanded everyone's attention, William took the opportunity to slip away to the kitchen. His heart was racing. He entered the kitchen, and the scene he saw broke his heart all over again. Mrs. Higgins, the cook, a kind older woman, had the 3 babies in a wicker basket on the vegetable chopping table. The children were crying softly, exhausted. "Mr. Darcy," Mrs. Higgins said, alarmed. "Mrs. Victoria said not to feed them too much, that they would be leaving soon, but they are hungry, sir. Look how they are sucking their fingers." William approached, looked at those little faces. Now, knowing the truth, the resemblance was undeniable. One of them opened his eyes. They were green, green like his, green like Robert's. William extended a finger and the babe grasped it with his tiny hand, a strong, lifelike squeeze. "No one is going to take them away, Mrs. Higgins," William whispered. "Feed them. Give them everything they want. And if Mrs. Victoria asks, tell her you couldn't find the milk. Buy yourself some time, Mrs. Higgins." William looked her in the eyes. "Nobody touches these children without my permission. Nobody. Understood?" Meanwhile, in the coldest and darkest cell of Pentonville prison, our poor Daisy was living her own personal hell. They had thrown her into a common cell, a damp room that smelled of urine and despair. They had taken away her shoes, her belt, and even her hair tie. She was barefoot on the frozen cement, hugging herself to keep from freezing. "I am innocent," she shouted every time a guard passed by. "Please let me make a call. I have to let Mr. Darcy know." "Shut up already, gutter snipe," a guard yelled from the desk without even looking at her. "You have the right to remain silent, so use it. Child kidnapper, you should be ashamed." Daisy slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. She cried silently. Now she wasn't crying for herself, she was crying for the babies. She knew what Victoria was planning. She had overheard her. And now, locked between four gray walls, she felt like the most useless woman in the world. "Forgive me, little angels," Daisy whispered, kissing her own empty hands, imagining that she was still holding the triplets. "I failed you. I promised I would take care of you, and I failed you." But what Daisy didn't know, my friends, is that she wasn't alone, because the truth, even if late, always finds a crack through which to escape. And William, in his mansion, was about to make the riskiest move of his life. He took out his phone, which he had hidden in the bathroom, and dialed a number. "Well, Mr. Torres," William whispered, "I need you to come to my house right now and bring the best private detective you know. And Torres needs to bring an urgent DNA testing kit. Yes, now I do not care about the time. It is a matter of life or death." He hung up the phone and looked at himself in the mirror. His face had changed. He was no longer the happy boyfriend. It was a lion defending his pack. "Get ready, Victoria," he said to his reflection, "because I am going to take your mask off piece by piece. They are still there. Do not move. Things are getting more and more intense. To understand why our brave Daisy ended up in a car boot, we have to go back a few hours, because things do not happen by chance. They happen because there are bad people and brave people willing to do anything." 6 hours before the party, the Darcy mansion was a chaotic scene of florists, waiters, and organizers running around. Daisy was upstairs polishing the wooden floors until they looked like mirrors. Her back hurt, but she didn't complain. She needed the money to send to her grandmother in the village. She was wiping down the floor near Victoria's office. The door was ajar. Daisy knew she shouldn't listen to other people's conversations. Her mother always told her to see, hear, and keep quiet, but Victoria's tone of voice was so cold that it froze her blood. "I already told you I do not care how much the little guy costs," Victoria said on the phone. Daisy stopped. "El Chato." That name sounded like a criminal, not a wedding planner. Daisy approached on tiptoe, pressing her ear to the wood. "The brats are in the guest house. Her stupid mother died in childbirth 2 days ago. Nobody is going to claim them." Victoria continued pacing around the room. "Robert took the secret to his grave, but he didn't count on me finding the hospital papers. Listen to me carefully. I want them to disappear today. Enjoy the party. There will be a lot of people, a lot of noise. You come in from the back, take them, and throw them away. I do not know. Sell them. Throw them in the Thames. I do not care. But I do not want any trace of them left. If William sees even one of those bastards, my inheritance is over." Daisy covered her mouth with both hands to stifle a scream of horror. She was going to kill some babies, Mr. Robert's children. Daisy remembered Robert fondly. He always treated her with respect. He asked him about his family. Knowing that she had secret children and that Victoria wanted to get rid of them as if they were trash made her stomach churn. "Yes, tonight at 8 I will leave the service door open for you, and buddy, make sure they do not cry when you take them out." Victoria hung up and let out a dry laugh. Daisy didn't think about it. Her fear vanished, and she was filled with the kind of courage that makes you move mountains. She ran towards the guest house at the back of the garden. She entered stealthily. There were 3 makeshift baskets, 3 tiny babies, asleep, unaware that their executioner was already on his way. "I'm not going to let anything happen to them," Daisy whispered with tears in her eyes. She started looking for ways to get them out. She couldn't leave through the front door. It was full of security guards for the party. She couldn't jump the fence with 3 babies. Then she saw William's car parked near the back entrance, the Rolls-Royce. She knew that William sometimes left the boot unlocked when he was loading things. It was crazy. It was dangerous, but it was the only option. She wrapped the children in the thickest blankets she could find. She grabbed the letter that Robert had hidden in the false bottom of the nightstand drawer. Daisy had found it while cleaning a few days ago and had instinctively kept it there, without reading it, knowing that it was important. She ran with the 3 babies in her arms. They were heavy. They slipped from her grasp. She got to the car, opened the boot. It was empty. "Come in, my loves. Come in," she said, arranging them at the back. She went in too. The space was minimal. It smelled of rubber and confinement. She closed the lid from the inside, leaving a tiny gap for air to get in, but praying that no light would show through. And that is where she stayed. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Feeling the air becoming stale, feeling the cramp in her legs, the babies began to get restless. She sang lullabies in their ears very softly, crying with fear, until William opened the boot. Back to the present. William left the bathroom and went back to the party, but his mind was on that flashback that Daisy would tell him about later. Now in the present, he had to act. He saw Victoria talking on the phone in a corner of the living room, covering her mouth with her hand, looking nervously toward the service door. William approached surreptitiously, taking a glass from a tray to feign normalcy. He stood behind a marble column. "Why are you taking so long if it is Victoria on the phone? The party is packed. It is the perfect time. They are in the kitchen with that silly old woman, Mrs. Higgins. Come in now. I will pay you double, but get them out of here." William felt his blood boil. It was true. Everything was true. She was going to sell his nephews that very night. Victoria hung up and turned around, almost bumping head-on into William. "Oh," she exclaimed, her hand on her chest. "You scared me, love." "Who were you talking to?" William asked, staring at the florist. "Some centerpieces were missing," she lied with astonishing ease. "Victoria," said William, taking another step closer. His presence was intimidating. "I have been thinking I do not like the idea of one of your friends taking those babies at this hour of the night. It is dangerous, dangerous." "Please, William." Victoria let out a forced laugh. "They will be better off than here. What is the matter? Since when do you care so much about other people's children? Or did you like the maid and that is why you are worried about what she stole?" That comment was a mistake. William clenched his jaw. "Do not talk about her like that." "I will talk about a thief however I want." Victoria defended herself by raising her voice to play the victim. "You ruined my night and you are acting weird. What do you have?" At that moment, the kitchen service door burst open. A sinister-looking man, dressed in a cheap suit that was too small for him and with a grumpy face, entered, looking all around. It was the short one. Victoria gave him an almost imperceptible signal with her eyes to go to the kitchen. William intercepted the gaze. He knew he had seconds. If that man reached the babies, he could pull out a gun or take them by force. "Security!" William shouted in a voice like thunder. The music stopped. The entire room fell silent. Victoria paled. "What are you doing?" she whispered, grabbing his arm with her nails. "You are making a scene." Two armed, enormous private security guards came running up. "That man," said William, pointing to the short man who was trying to blend in with the waiters. "He does not have an invitation. Get him out of my house now." The short man, upon being discovered, tried to run towards the kitchen, towards the babies. "Stop him!" roared William. The guards pounced on him before he could take 2 steps. They immobilized him on the ground in front of all the high society guests. "Let me go! I'm here on a mission!" the man shouted. "The lady told me to." "Shut up!" Victoria shouted, running towards him. "He is a drunk! Get him out! He probably came here to rob people." William looked at Victoria. She was trembling, sweating cold. Her eyes pleaded for the man to be taken away before he spoke any more. William decided to loosen the rope a little, only to strangle her better later. "Take him to the police," William ordered the guards, and say he tried to force his way in. As the man was being dragged away, Victoria slumped down on a sofa, fanning herself with her hand, pretending to faint. "Oh, how awful! So much insecurity," she said. "Thank you, my love. You saved me." William crouched down to her level, stroked her hair, but his eyes were like ice. "Do not worry, darling. Tonight is a night of surprises, and I assure you the best is yet to come." He stood up and looked toward the door. The doorbell rang. It was his special guests, the lawyer Torres and the private doctor. "Who are they?" Victoria asked, her color returning as she saw her accomplice had been ushered out and thought she was safe. "Some friends," William said, "coming to clear up this whole nephew's business. Because, you see, Victoria, I was left with some doubts, and I decided that before sending them anywhere, we are going to get a day test done right here and now." Victoria's face fell. Her glass slipped from her hand and shattered into 1,000 pieces on the floor. The sound of the breaking glass signaled the beginning of the collapse of her castle of lies. William smiled, a wolfish grin. "Something wrong, my love. You look pale." Oh, my friends, the air in that mansion was so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. It was so dense. Did you hear that glass shatter at the end of the previous section? Well, it wasn't just a glass, it was Victoria's patience shattering. She was pale, as if she'd seen a ghost. And rightly so, science doesn't lie, and she knew it. This is ridiculous, William, Victoria shrieked, trying to regain her composure as an employee gathered the broken glass at her feet. A DNA test in the middle of our engagement party. What will the guests think? Are you humiliating me? William, however, was calmer than ever, or at least that's what he seemed to be doing. Inside, his heart was an erupting volcano, but he had learned that to hunt a snake one must not make a sound. Nobody has to know, my love, he said with a gentleness that was frightening. The doctor and the lawyer will go to the kitchen with the children. It is a quick procedure. If, as you say, they are your distant nephews, there won't be any problem, and we can laugh about this tomorrow. But if there is any doubt, well, it is best to clear it up now, don't you think? Victoria opened her mouth to protest, but she saw the guests' expressions. All eyes in high society were on them. If she made a scene, she'd look like a madwoman now. She had to swallow her venom. Do what you want, she spat softly, leaning close to his ear. But when this is over and it is proven I am right, you will regret treating me like this. William held her gaze and smiled. I will take the risk. The doctor and the lawyer went to the kitchen. William followed them. Upon seeing the three babies, the doctor proceeded swiftly. He placed a cotton swab in each child's mouth. The children didn't even wake up, little angels, oblivious to that cotton stick. He was going to decide his fate. William plucked one of his own hairs and gave it to the doctor. Compare it with my DNA and with the samples you have stored from my brother Robert in the family genetic bank, William ordered. I want the results first thing tomorrow morning. Pay whatever it takes to have the lab work all night. Of course, Mr. Darcy, the doctor said, putting the samples in a metal briefcase. He will have the truth at dawn. While this was happening, Victoria was in the garden, smoking one cigarette after another with trembling hands. She dialed a number on her cell phone. Well, a hoarse voice replied, it is done. No, you idiot, Victoria whispered furiously. The plan failed. William requested a DNA test. I need you to contact someone at the Central Genetics Lab. Those results need to change. Offer anything. If those results say they are Robert's children, we are dead. She hung up the phone and looked up at the full moon. Nobody is going to take my millions away, she muttered. Not some whiny brats, not some starving maid, talking about our poor Daisy. Friends, prepare your hearts, 'cause what is coming hurts. Pentonville Prison at that time of night was the saddest place in the world. Daisy was huddled in a corner of the cell. She was cold, very cold, not only because of the temperature, but because of that loneliness that freezes you to the bone. Her blue maid's dress was dirty, torn at the sleeve where the policeman had grabbed it. Hey you, said a woman from the other cell, a lady who looked like she had lived through 1,000 wars. What did you do? You look too soft to be here. I did nothing, Daisy sobbed, hiding her face between her knees. I just wanted to save them. We are all innocent here, my daughter. The woman laughed, but without malice. But if you messed with rich people, you are done for. Money always wins. Daisy closed her eyes. She thought of her grandmother in the village who depended on her salary. She thought of William. Would he hate her? Did he think she was a kidnapper? The idea that the man she secretly admired viewed her as a criminal hurt her more than the blows. Suddenly, firm footsteps were heard in the hallway, expensive shoes hitting the cheap cement floor. Open the cell, ordered a voice Daisy recognized. She jerked her head up. She was dreaming. There, on the other side of the bars, was William. He had taken off his tuxedo jacket. His shirt was unbuttoned at the neck and his hair was messy. He looked exhausted, but his eyes gazed at her with an intensity that took her breath away. Mr. Darcy, she whispered, standing up with the difficulty. Her legs hurt. Daisy. William approached the bars. Without thinking, he reached through the cold metal and took her hands. They were frozen. Forgive me. Please forgive me. Why are you asking me for forgiveness? Daisy started crying again, but this time with relief. Do you believe me? I believe you, he said firmly, clasping his hands. I found the letter. I read what Robert wrote. I know the truth, Daisy. I know you are a hero. Daisy felt her legs give way and dropped to her knees, still holding on to William's hands through the bars. He knelt down too, not caring about getting his pants worth thousands of pounds dirty on the filthy jail floor. The babies? She asked anxiously. Are they okay? Victoria did something to them? They are safe, William promised her, looking her in the eyes. I put guards at the door of his room. Nobody touches them. Tomorrow I will have the day results, and with that I will destroy Victoria. But now what matters to me is you. William ran a hand along Daisy's cheek, wiping away a black tear made of mascara and dirt. That gentle touch, so full of tenderness, made time stand still in that horrible cell. Look at yourself, he whispered with barely contained rage. They have beaten you. You have a bruise here. I swear to you, Daisy, they are going to pay for every tear you have shed. Lord, get me out of here. I am scared, she pleaded. Victoria is bad. She said she would kill me if I talked. She is not going to touch a hair on your head anymore. My lawyer is working on your release. It is complicated because the charges are serious and it is the weekend. But I am not going to move from here until you are out, or at least until I am sure you are safe. At that moment, the guard struck the gate with his baton. Visiting time is over. Get out now, young man. William got up, but he didn't let go of Daisy's hand until the very last second. Hang in there, Daisy. Be a little stronger. For my nephews. For me, for you, she whispered as he walked away. William left the police station with his soul ablaze. It was no longer just about justice for his brother. Now it was personal. He had seen the noblest woman in the world treated like trash, and something inside him had changed forever. He got into his car, slammed his fist on the steering wheel, and yelled, "War!" But what William didn't know was that Victoria wasn't going to sit idly by waiting for her end. While he was driving back, Victoria was in the mansion's library opening William's safe. She knew the combination. "Let us see how brave you are without your money, darling," she murmured, pulling out bank documents and something else. A weapon, a small silver revolver that William kept for security. Victoria stroked the cold metal of the weapon and smiled at her reflection in the mirror. Her reflection gave her back a distorted, demonic image. If I cannot get the money from the Darcy family willingly, I will get it as a widow, and I will make sure that maid has an accident in the prison shower before the sun comes up. She dialed another number. The godmother is in the women's pavilion. Yes, I need you to give a special welcome to a new intern. Her name is Daisy. Let it look like a fight. Let it not survive. St. George. Victoria has just ordered Daisy's death inside the prison. William thinks he is buying time, but the clock is ticking against our protagonist. Will help arrive in time? Dawn broke in London. A gray sun tried to peek through the fog, reflecting the mood of our characters. William hadn't slept a single minute. He had spent the night awake, sitting in his office armchair, looking at the photo of his brother Robert. I failed you, brother, he said to the photo. I let the enemy into my home, but I swear I will clear your name. At 7:00 a.m. sharp, his phone rang. It was the doctor. William answered the first ring. Yes, Mr. Darcy, I have the results. Tell me. It is positive, 99.9% match with Robert's sample. Those 3 children are his biological nephews. Without a doubt, they are Darcy's. William closed his eyes and released the air he hadn't known he was holding. A lone tear rolled down his cheek. They were his blood, his family. Thank you, doctor. Prepare the official report. I am going to need it today. William hung up and felt a strange peace. He already had the weapon to destroy Victoria, but first he had to save Daisy. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the prison had become tense. The inmates looked at Daisy with predatory eyes. The godmother, a huge woman with tattoos on her neck, approached her while they were queuing for the watery breakfast. You are the one who stole from the boys, aren't you? Said the godmother, pushing Daisy against the wall. I did not steal anything, Daisy said, trembling, but holding her gaze. She was only protecting some children because the boss sends her regards. The godmother pulled out a sharpened toothbrush, an improvised prison weapon, and prepared to attack. Daisy closed her eyes, waiting for the blow. William thought. Stop right there, shouted a guard, running into the dining room. Daisy Smith, you are free? The godmother stopped millimeters from Daisy's stomach, quickly hid the weapon, and spat on the ground. You were lucky, sweetheart. But accidents happen out there too. Daisy opened her eyes, breathing heavily. Free. At the entrance of the station, the sun shone on her face, and there he was. Not the driver, not the lawyer. William leaned against his Rolls-Royce wearing dark sunglasses to hide his dark circles, but with a smile that brightened the morning. Mr. Darcy! Daisy ran. She didn't care about the protocol. She didn't care that he was her boss. She ran and threw herself into his arms. William greeted her by enveloping her in a strong, protective hug. It smelled of expensive soap and security. I told you I would get you out. I paid the highest bail in the history of this station, but I didn't care. Let us go. It is not safe here. He put her in the car and drove off, burning rubber. Where are we going, Daisy asked, wiping away her tears. To the mansion? No, you cannot go back to the mansion yet. Victoria is dangerous. I will take you to a place where no one can find you. William drove to Canary Wharf, to a luxury apartment in a high-rise tower that he used for secret business meetings. Nobody knew about that place. Not even Victoria. Upon entering, Daisy was amazed. Everything was white, modern, clean, but the best part was in the living room. There, in an improvised corral attended by Mrs. Higgins, the faithful cook that William had also taken with him, were the triplets. My children, Daisy shouted and ran towards them. The scene, my friends, was absolutely heartwarming. The babies, upon hearing her voice, began to wave their little hands. Daisy carried them, kissed them, smelled them. William watched from the doorway, deeply moved. He realized something. Victoria could be the official fiancée, but Daisy was the mother those children needed, and perhaps the woman he needed. They are my nephews, Daisy, said William, approaching. The DNA confirmed it. Daisy looked at him with shining eyes. I knew it. Mr. Robert loved them so much. We need to talk. William became serious. Tonight is the official engagement party. The press will be there. My partners, everyone. Victoria believes she won. She believes you rotted in jail and that the DNA results were altered because she tried to bribe the lab. But I intercepted the contact. What are we going to do? Daisy asked, feeling afraid. We are going to that party, said William, taking Daisy's hand. But you are not going to go as the maid. You are going to enter through the front door. Mrs. Higgins will help you get ready with pre-made dresses, jewelry, everything you need. But, sir, I do not know how to be a society lady. I do not need you to be a society lady. I need you to be brave, honest, and beautiful. Tonight, Daisy, the theater is going to collapse, and you are going to have a front row seat to see Victoria pay for everything. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Victoria was euphoric. Her contact in jail had told her, lying so as not to look bad, that Daisy had had a scare, and her contact in the laboratory assured her that the results would come back negative. She was trying on her evening dress, a golden thing covered in sequins. I am invincible, she told herself in the mirror. Tonight I am announcing the wedding date, and in a month William will have an accident and I will be the richest widow in London. She had no idea. She didn't know that William was miles away watching Daisy transform. Mrs. Higgins had performed a miracle. When Daisy left the apartment room, William was speechless. She wore a simple yet elegant emerald-colored dress that accentuated her figure and made her skin glow. She wore her hair loose in soft waves. There was no trace left of the maid in the blue uniform. She looked like a queen. You are nervous, William. He cleared his throat. You look amazing. Daisy blushed. Thank you, Lord, but I am afraid. Do not be afraid. William offered her his arm. Today you are not going alone. Today you are coming with me. And I swear on my brother's memory that after tonight no one will ever humiliate you again. They got into the car, their destination, the lion's den, the party where everything would explode. William was driving with one hand on the steering wheel and the other unconsciously searched for Daisy's hand. She didn't push him away. In that complicit silence, something stronger than gratitude was born. They arrived at the mansion. The photographers were at the entrance. The camera lights were flashing. Ready? William asked. Ready? Daisy said, lifting her chin. She remembered the baby safe with Mrs. Higgins in the secure apartment. She would face the devil for them. The valet opened the door. William got out first, imposing, very handsome, and extended his hand towards the inside of the car. The press expected to see Victoria or some associate, but when Daisy came down in that emerald dress with her head held high, there was a deathly silence. And then the murmuring began. Who is she? She is a model. And Victoria. Victoria, who was at the top of the stairs greeting the guests, saw the scene. Her glass slipped out of her hand for the second time in 24 hours. What is that filthy woman doing here? She hissed, feeling the ground move beneath her. William looked up, met Victoria's gaze, and smiled. A cold smile. The game had begun. Oh, my dear friends, what a moment. If you could see how I get goosebumps just remembering that triumphant entrance. The silence in the room was so profound that you could hear the buzzing of a fly. Daisy, our Daisy, who just a few hours ago was scrubbing floors and being humiliated, was now walking on the red carpet arm in arm with London's most eligible bachelor. And she didn't walk with her head down. No, sir. She walked as if the mansion were hers, with that emerald dress billowing with every step and a dignity that money cannot buy. Victoria descended the last steps almost stumbling. Her face was a mixture of pure hatred, disbelief, and a terror she tried to hide with a smile that looked like a grimace of pain. She smoothed down her golden dress, took a deep breath to swallow her bile, and launched her attack like the viper she is. William, she exclaimed in that shrill voice that feigns joy. But what a surprise! I didn't know we were having a charity event tonight. You brought the servants here so they could see how decent people live. The guests let out nervous giggles. High society is cruel, my friends, and they love the circus. But William didn't laugh. He stopped in the middle of the room. He gently released Daisy's arm to put his own around her waist in a possessive and protective gesture that made Victoria stop breathing for a second. You are wrong, Victoria, William said in a powerful voice that resonated throughout the room without the need for a microphone. Daisy is not here out of charity. She is here because she is the most important person tonight, more important than you and certainly more important than me. A murmur rippled through the room. The ladies with the large jewels fanned themselves quickly. What did he say? He is leaving Victoria for the maid. They went crazy. Victoria approached, invading Daisy's personal space. Her bloodshot eyes stared at the girl. Listen to me carefully, you gutter snipe, Victoria muttered under her breath, so low that only they could hear her. I do not know what kind of witchcraft you used to make him bring you here or what you told him in bed. But this is my party, and I am going to kick you out of here. You have 5 minutes to get out of here before I call a security and accuse you of stealing that dress. Daisy felt the usual fear, that knot in her stomach that she felt every time the boss yelled at her. But then she felt William's warm hand on her back. She remembered the babies, those 3 defenseless little angels that Victoria wanted to throw in the trash, and the fear turned into fire. Daisy lifted her chin, looked Victoria in the eyes, and for the first time in her life, did not lower her gaze. I am not leaving, madam, Daisy said in a clear and firm voice. And the dress is not stolen. It is a gift from a man who knows how to value the truth. You should be more worried about what is going to come to light today than about my clothes. Take it. Period. For Daisy. Victoria was stunned. Never before had the mute maid answered her. William smiled proudly. Come on, my dear, I want to introduce you to my partners. They left Victoria standing in the middle of the living room, mouth agape and fists clenched. The humiliation was public. Victoria felt everyone's eyes on her back. Poor Victoria, they whispered. William traded her for the maid. Victoria ran to the guest bathroom, slamming the door behind her. She looked at herself in the mirror. She was sweating. Her makeup was starting to run. She desperately opened her designer handbag. There it was, the silver revolver. It gleamed coldly in the bathroom light. No one humiliates me, Victoria murmured, caressing the weapon. No one takes what is mine. If William thinks he can present evidence, those bastards' lies, you are wrong. I am going to finish this tonight. She touched up her blood-red lipstick, holstered the gun, and walked out again, head held high. She was going to play her last card, the victims. Meanwhile, in the living room, William was weaving his web. He introduced Daisy not as his employee, but as the woman who saved his family's legacy. The men looked at Daisy with admiration for her natural beauty, and the women, though envious, couldn't deny she had something special about her. "William," Daisy whispered to him when they had a moment alone near the canapé table, "I have a bad feeling. Victoria has been staring at us. She has got her hand in her purse the whole time." "Relax," he replied, handing her a glass of mineral water. "I have plainclothes security all around. Besides, what I am going to show you in a few minutes will leave her so stunned she won't even be able to move. Trust me." "I trust you," she said. And in that exchange of glances, friends, there was more love than in all the soap operas combined. William realized he could no longer live without that courageous woman. The orchestra stopped playing, the lights dimmed. A spotlight illuminated the small stage where the microphone stood. The moment had arrived. Victoria rushed forward, climbing onto the stage before William and snatching the microphone. She wanted to control the narrative. "Good evening, everyone," she shouted with a maniacal grin. "Thank you for coming to celebrate our love. I know there have been some distractions tonight." She glared at Daisy. "But I want to announce that William and I have decided to move up the wedding. We are getting married this weekend." There was scattered, very weak applause. The audience was confused. William walked slowly onto the stage like a predator, stalking its prey. He stood beside Victoria. She tried to hug him, but he remained rigid as a statue. "Thank you, Victoria, for that enthusiastic announcement," William said, taking the microphone from her hands gently but firmly. "Before we talk about weddings, we have to talk about family, about blood, about truths that have been buried underground and buried under lies." Victoria paled, tried to take the microphone from him, but William blocked her with his body. "Tonight," William continued, his voice turning deep, dangerous, "it was supposed to be an engagement party, but it has turned into a welcome party. A welcome party for the true heirs of the Darcy Empire." Victoria felt like the ground was opening up. "William, aren't you drunk?" she shouted, microphone out, trying to pull him by the arm. "Let us get out of here." "I am not drunk, Victoria. I am more awake than ever." William signaled to the lighting and sound technician. Behind them, a giant screen that was used to project photos of the couple suddenly lit up. But there were no romantic pictures. A scanned document appeared, enormous, crisp, with official seals from the most prestigious genetic laboratory in the country and, in large red letters, a highlighted conclusion. Probability of parentage, 99.9. Uncle relationship and nephews. The room erupted in exclamations. "My God," a woman cried. "They are Robert's children." William looked at the audience. "That is right. My brother Robert, may he rest in peace, had 3 children. 3 children that someone tried to make disappear. 3 children who were literally rescued from the garbage by a brave woman." He pointed to Daisy. The spotlight fell on her. Daisy, with tears in her eyes, placed her hand on her chest. People began to applaud, first timidly, then loudly. Victoria was trembling with anger. Her plan was falling apart. "It is a lie," Victoria howled, regaining her voice. "That paper is fake. That woman is a thief who forged everything to get money from us. Do not believe her. Those children are street bastards." William turned to her. His face no longer held a trace of love, only disgust. "Bastard, Victoria, that is what you think. And then why did you pay £50,000 to some guy named Chato to make them disappear?" The silence that followed that accusation was deafening. Victoria took a step back, bumping into the screen. I do not know what you are talking about." "Oh no." William pulled a remote control from his pocket. "Maybe this will jog your memory." He pressed a button. What came through the speakers wasn't music. It was a recording. A crisp, clear, terrifying recording. "I want them gone today. Take advantage of the party. Throw them in the Thames. I do not care, but I do not want a trace of them left. If William sees even one of those bastards, my inheritance is over." It was Victoria's voice, unmistakable, cruel, murderous. The guests covered their mouths in horror. Victoria's friends moved away from the stage as if she had a contagious disease. Victoria looked around, cornered. Her eyes darted from William to Daisy, from Daisy to the exit blocked by guards. There was no mask anymore. no lady. Of society, only the monster remained. And monsters, my friends, when they see themselves lost, they attack. The drawing room of the Darcy mansion had become a public tribunal. The recording of Victoria's voice continued to resonate in the air like a cursed echo. Throw them in the Thames. I do not care. The contemptuous glances of the British elite fell upon her like stones. William looked at her with absolute coldness. It is over, Victoria. The police are on their way. This time they won't come for Daisy. They are coming for you. For attempted murder, for kidnapping, and for fraud. Victoria let out a laugh, a shrill, broken laugh that made more than one person's blood run cold. She seemed possessed. The police officer mocked her with wide eyes. Do you think you are going to lock me up, Victoria Montenegro? I own all of this. You and your dead brother are nothing without me. Suddenly, her hand moved swiftly like lightning toward her gold handbag. Watch out, Daisy shouted from below the stage. Her instinct warned her before anyone else, but it was too late. Victoria pulled out the revolver. The metal gleamed under the spotlights. The crowd screamed and threw themselves to the ground. Glasses shattered, chairs flew, and panic gripped the party. Victoria pointed directly at William's cabinet. Nobody move, she shouted, her hand trembling, but her finger firm on the trigger. If anyone takes a step, I will blow this idiot's heart out. William slowly raised his hands without losing his composure. Victoria, put the gun down. Do not make things worse. You have already lost. I never lose, she shrieked, tears of rage streaming down her ruined makeup. Everything was going to be perfect. I was going to be a millionaire, but you had to open that damn boot. And you, she turned the gun toward Daisy, who was frozen near the front row. You damn maid, you are to blame for everything. You should have died in jail. Do not touch her, William roared, taking a step forward and putting himself in the line of fire to protect Daisy. Back, Victoria yelled at the ceiling. Boom. The roar was deafening. Pieces of plaster fell from the ceiling. The guests' shouts increased. Some prayed, others wept. Next time it is going to be your head, William, Victoria threatened. Now listen to me carefully. I want a car in the driveway. I want the keys to the private jet, and I am taking the maid with me. If they try to follow me, I will kill them. Daisy felt her legs buckle. She was going to die. After everything she fought for. She was going to die there. But she looked at William. He gave her an almost imperceptible signal with his eyes. Trust me. Daisy, Victoria ordered, stepping off the stage with her gun pointed at everyone. Come here right now. Daisy walked slowly, trembling. She climbed the steps. Victoria grabbed her by the hair and pressed the cold barrel of the gun to her temple. If you move, I will kill you, she yelled in her ear. William felt like he was dying inside. Seeing the woman he loved with a gun to her head was his worst nightmare, but he knew he had to keep a cool head. Victoria was unstable. One wrong move and it would all end in tragedy. Victoria, please, William said in a soft, negotiating voice. Let her go. Take me. I am worth more. I am the one who signs the checks. She is nobody. No, Victoria shouted. She is the one you care about. I can see it in your disgusting eyes. You fell in love with the maid. How romantic. Well, you are going to watch her die. In that moment of maximum tension, when life hung by a thread, something unexpected happened. The mansion's main doors burst open with a crash. It wasn't the police. It was an elderly woman in a wheelchair, pushed by a nurse. Her hair was as white as snow, and her gaze, despite her age, commanded absolute respect. Victoria froze at the sight, her hand holding the gun lowered an inch. Grandmother, Victoria whispered. It was the Dowager Lady Matilda, the matriarch of Victoria's family, a feared and respected woman whom everyone believed to be senile and confined to a nursing home in Switzerland. But there she was. Put that gun down, you stupid girl, the Dowager Lady Matilda said in a hoarse but powerful voice. Her wheelchair moved forward down the central aisle between guests lying on the floor. Do not come any closer, Victoria shouted, confused and terrified. You locked me up. You said I was crazy. And you are, the old woman retorted, stopping a few feet from the stage. You have dishonored our family name. You have tried to kill innocent children. I got a call from the bank, Victoria. You tried to empty my trust accounts this morning. You are a thief and a murderer. The distraction was perfect. Victoria, confronted by her greatest childhood fear, her domineering grandmother, let her guard down for a second. She glanced at the old woman, losing sight of William. William didn't hesitate. It was a tiger's move. He pounced on Victoria, grabbing the wrist that held the gun and pulling it upward. "Let me go!" Victoria screamed. Bang! The gun fired again, but the bullet struck a chandelier, shattering it into shards of glass above them. William and Victoria struggled. She fought like a wild animal, biting and clawing, but William was stronger. He twisted her wrist until the revolver fell to the floor with a clang. "Run, Daisy!" William shouted. Instead of running, Daisy stared at the gun on the floor. She saw Victoria pulling out a small knife she had hidden in her garter. This woman was a walking arsenal. She was going to stab William in the side. Daisy didn't think. She grabbed a heavy vase from the decoration table and ran towards them. "Leave my man alone," Daisy yelled. "And you know?" She smashed the vase over Victoria's head. Victoria's eyes widened. She froze for a second, staggered, and collapsed to the floor like a sack of potatoes. Silence returned to the room for 3 seconds. William, panting, his shirt torn and a scratch on his face, looked at Victoria on the floor. Then he looked at Daisy, who was holding the broken vase, trembling with adrenaline. "Your man?" William asked with a tired but happy smile amidst the chaos. Daisy dropped the vase and covered her mouth, realizing what she had shouted. I am sorry. It is just that she was going." William didn't let her finish. He grabbed her by the waist and kissed her. It was a movie kiss, my friends. A kiss that tasted of victory, of danger, and of true love. A kiss which made the guests, forgetting their fear, stand up and applaud. At that moment, the real police finally entered and handcuffed Victoria, who was still half fainting. They lifted her up. As she passed in front of Daisy, Victoria opened a swollen, bruised eye. "This is not over," Victoria stammered. "I will be back." "Shut up, Madame," the officer said, pushing her. "You are not coming back from where you are going." They took the villain away. The grandmother, the Dowager Lady Matilde, approached Daisy and looked her up and down. Daisy thought she was going to insult her. "You have a good right hand, child," the old woman said. "You gave her the blow I should have given her years ago. Take care of those children and this boy." William hugged Daisy. "It is over," he said. "The nightmare is over." But Daisy looked towards the door. "The children are missing. I want to see my children." William smiled. "Let us go home, our real home." They left the mansion, leaving behind the empty luxury, the gossip, and the hypocrisy. Outside, the night was cool and clear. They got into the car, but this time Daisy didn't sit in the back. She sat in the front next to William, her lifelong co-pilot. It seemed like a happy ending. Perfect, right? Justice, love, villainous prisoner. But my friends, life always has one last surprise in store for us. Days later, while cleaning up the legal mess Victoria had left behind, William's lawyer found a document in Victoria's secret safe. A document that had nothing to do with money. It was an old birth certificate. William read it and turned pale. He called Daisy to the office. "Daisy, you have to see this." "What is wrong?" she asked, carrying one of the triplets. "It is about your mother, the one you said abandoned you when you were a baby." "Yes, I never knew who she was. My grandmother only told me that she was a woman who worked in a rich house." William handed her the paper with trembling hands. "Daisy, according to this paper that Victoria had hidden to blackmail, you are not the daughter of a stranger." Daisy read the mother's name on the document. Her eyes filled with tears. "It just cannot be." William nodded. "Yes, it could be. And that changes everything." Oh, my dear friends, let us take a deep breath, because what William has in his hands is not just a piece of paper. It is a nuclear bomb that will change Daisy's life forever. Do you remember that Victoria kept that birth certificate as if it were gold? Well, now we will know why. Fate, which sometimes seems cruel, always has a master plan to put every queen on her throne and every witch in her cage. William held the document with trembling hands, looking alternately at the paper and Daisy's face. "Daisy, please sit down," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. "What I am about to tell you is incredible." Daisy sat on the edge of the leather sofa, hugging one of the triplets to her chest, searching for strength. "What is wrong, sir? It is scaring me. Is that woman Victoria my mother? Daisy asked in horror. No, God forbid, exclaimed William quickly. No, Daisy, look at this name, your father's name. Daisy took the paper. Her eyes scanned the old typed letters. Father Lewis Frederick Harrington, Mother Mary Henderson. I do not know that Mr. Lewis, Daisy whispered. My grandmother in the village never spoke to me about him. He just told me that my mom died of sadness when I was born. Lewis Frederick Harrington, repeated William, standing up and walking around the room. He was the Dowager Lady Matilda's only son, Victoria's uncle. He died in an accident 20 years ago. Everyone thought he had died childless, but apparently he had a secret love affair with your mother. Daisy put her hand to her mouth. That means you are Victoria's first cousin, and most importantly, you are the direct granddaughter of the Dowager Lady Matilda, the true heiress to the Harrington fortune. The silence in the room was absolute. Daisy couldn't process it. She, the maid who ate the leftovers in the kitchen, owned half the city. That is why Victoria hated you so much, William said, furiously putting two and two together. It was not just classism, it was fear. She knew who you were. She found this paper and kept it. She hired you to keep an eye on you, to humiliate you, to make sure you never discovered the truth. She had you scrubbing her floors, knowing it was her own flesh and blood. At that moment, the office door opened. The Dowager Lady Matilda entered in her wheelchair, pushed by her nurse. The old woman's eyes were red from crying. She had heard everything from the hallway. Let me see her, the Dowager Lady Matilda said, her voice trembling. Come closer, child. Daisy stood up, shaking like a leaf, and approached the imposing old woman. The Dowager Lady Matilda raised a wrinkled hand, laden with rings, and stroked Daisy's face. Your eyes, the old woman sobbed. You have my Louis's eyes, those sad, kind eyes. My God, I had my granddaughter right under my nose, and that viper made me believe you were dead. Mrs. Matilda, Daisy cried, falling to her knees in front of the wheelchair, hugging the legs of the grandmother she never met. Forgive me, daughter. Forgive me for not having looked for you, the matriarch wept, kissing Daisy's head. But I swear that from today onwards, no one will ever look down on you again. You are one of the Harringtons, and that damn Victoria is going to rot in jail for having robbed us for so many years. It was a scene, my friends, that not even the best film director could have planned. The reunion of two souls separated by ambition. William watched the scene with a smile, but also with a small doubt in his heart. Now that Daisy was a millionaire heiress, would she still love him, or would their worlds separate them? But before thinking about the future, it was necessary to close the chapter on the past. Days later, Daisy asked for something that left everyone stunned. She wanted to see Victoria. Do not do it, William begged. She is pure poison. You do not need to see her. Yes, I need it, Daisy said firmly. She no longer spoke in a low voice. There was a newfound confidence in her. I need to look her in the eyes and tell her that she didn't destroy me. I need to close that door forever. They went to Pentonville Prison. The atmosphere was heavy, gray, depressing. Daisy entered the visiting room impeccably dressed, but simply. William waited outside, ready to go in if anything happened. Victoria appeared on the other side of the bulletproof glass. She was wearing the beige uniform of the prisoners. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair, once perfect, was dull and tied up in a poorly done ponytail. She looked haggard, but her eyes still dripped with hatred. Victoria grabbed the intercom phone and let out a dry laugh. Well, well, Cinderella came to visit the witch. What do you want? Did you come here to make fun of me? Show off your new clothes? Daisy calmly picked up the phone. I came to ask you why, that is all. We were families, Victoria. We share the same blood. Why so much hate? Why not just tell me the truth? We could have been sisters. Sisters? Victoria spat out the word in disgust. You and I would never be sisters. You are the servant's daughter. I am a lady. My father always envied yours because he was grandmother's favorite. And when I found out that you existed, that woman had had a daughter with my Uncle Lewis, I knew that if grandmother found you, I would be left with nothing. Everything was going to be for you. Money is not everything, Victoria, Daisy said sadly. Look where you are because of money. Shut up, Victoria shouted, banging her fist on the glass. Do not lecture me on morality. You won this time, gutter snipe. You kept the money, the grandmother, and William. But listen carefully. William is going to get bored of you. You are boring. You are nothing. He is going to look for a real woman again. Daisy looked at Victoria. She was no longer afraid. She just felt sorry for her. You are wrong, Victoria. William didn't fall in love with me for my money, because when he fell in love, I had nothing. He fell in love with me because I know how to love. And you are so empty that not even with all the millions in the world could you fill that black hole you have in your soul. Victoria remained silent, breathing heavily. May St. George forgive you, cousin, Daisy said, hanging up the phone, because I have already forgiven you. I am not going to carry your hatred. You can keep that one here between these four walls. Daisy turned around and walked towards the exit. Do not go, Victoria shouted from behind the glass, banging on it desperately. Damned! Come back here! I hate you! I hate you! The guards had to restrain Victoria as she screamed curses while being dragged back to her dark cell. Daisy went out into the sun where William was waiting for her. Are you okay? He asked, hugging her. Daisy breathed deeply the fresh air of freedom. Yes, now I am free, William. William kissed her forehead. So let us go home. There are 3 babies who are learning to say daddy and mommy, and I think they are calling us. They got into the car and drove away, leaving the prison behind, resentment and the past. But friends, if you think this ends with a simple kiss, you are wrong, because the best part is yet to come. The celebration of true love is yet to come. The wedding is yet to come. And I promise you it will be abandoned. The event of the century. A year has passed, my queens. A year since that fateful night when an open boot changed everyone's destiny. And if you could see how the sun shines today in the garden of the Harrington Mansion, you wouldn't believe me. It is no longer the cold and ostentatious house it once was. Now there are toys scattered across the lawn. There are brightly colored flowers, and above all, there is laughter. Those children's laughs that heal any wound. The triplets, Robert Jr., Louis, and Fernandito, are already walking. Well, more like they run around the garden like crazy, dressed in small white linen suits, chasing the Dowager Lady Matilda, who now has a motorized wheelchair to be able to catch these demons. As she says, laughing, the grandmother looked 10 years younger. Regaining her granddaughter and gaining 3 great-grandchildren gave her life back. William is standing in front of the mirror in his room, adjusting his tie knot. But it is not just any suit, it is the groom's suit. He is nervous, his hands are sweating. Relax, brother, says the picture of Robert that he has on the small table. Today, I am fulfilling my promise. I am going to take care of them, and I am going to make the most wonderful woman in the world happy. Down below, the ceremony is about to begin. They didn't want a wedding in a luxurious, enclosed hall. They wanted to do it in the garden, under the light of God and nature. There are high society guests, yes, but there are also the people from Daisy's village, her grandmother, who now lives with them like a queen, and the household staff, seated as guests of honor. The music starts. The violins begin to play a sweet melody. William stands at the altar waiting. His breath catches in his throat. Here she comes, Daisy. She is not wearing a Parisian designer dress covered in stones. She wears a white lace dress that highlights her natural and simple beauty. She wears fresh flowers in her hair. She looks like an angel. She walks arm in arm with the Dowager Lady Matilda, who insisted on handing her over. The grandmother cries with pride. When Daisy arrives at the altar, William takes her hands. They look at each other, and in that look, they tell each other everything they have been through. Fear in the boot, prison, humiliation, the revealed truth. It was all worth it to get to this moment. The judge starts to speak, but nobody pays much attention until the vows come in. Daisy, William says in a firm and clear voice, a year ago I found you in the darkness of my car. You were scared, dirty, and desperate. But even there you shone. You shone with courage, with your love for those children who were not yours, but whom you made your own. You taught me that true nobility lies not in the surname, but in the heart. I love you not for who you are now, the heir of the Harringtons, but for who you always were. My brave little Rose, I promise to love you, respect you, and clean the dishes when it is your turn to rest every day of my life. People laugh and cry at the same time. Daisy wipes away a tear. William, she says in that sweet voice that charmed the millionaire, you were the only one who saw me when I was invisible. You defended me when everyone was attacking me. You gave me a home, you gave me a family, and you gave me back the dignity I thought I had lost. I promise to be your partner, your friend, and the mother of our children. The three we already have, and the one on the way. Boom, another bomb. William's eyes widen in shock. What? He asks, forgetting about the microphone. Are you Daisy? She smiles radiantly and touches her flat stomach. Yes, we are going to be parents again. The garden erupts in applause and shouts of joy. The Dowager Lady Mathilde raises her hands to the sky in gratitude. William doesn't wait to kiss the bride. He lifts her in his arms and spins her around in the air, laughing like a child as she kisses him passionately. I love you, he shouts. I love you, I love you. The triplets run to hug their legs, forming a giant family hug. From afar, outside the mansion's gate, a police car drives by carrying new prisoners. But nobody at the party notices. Evil fits here. Victoria is a distant memory that fades away. The party lasts until dawn. There are fish and chips, there's a brass band, there's champagne, and there's Earl Grey tea. The rich and the poor mingle, proving that at the end of the day we are all equal when it comes to celebrating love. And so, my dear friends, this story ends. A story that began with a crime and ended with a blessing. It teaches us that no matter how dark the path may seem, if you have a good and brave heart, the light always ends up coming out. It teaches us that appearances are deceiving, that sometimes the monster dresses in silk and the angel wears a cleaning uniform. William and Daisy showed us that love knows no social classes and that family is not just blood, but loyalty. Thank you for joining me on this journey filled with tears, anger, and joy. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I enjoyed telling them to you. The end. Oh, what a beautiful ending. I am crying my eyes out. Daisy's pregnancy was expected. How exciting. Well, my queens, if you liked this story, please do not leave without giving me a like. Share the video with your friends so they can also swoon over William, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Activate the bell so you do not miss the next story, which I promise will be even more impactful. Tell me in the comments which part was your favorite. The vase on Victoria's head or the wedding? I read them all. I love you all very much and see you next time. Kisses.